Okay, welcome back. Last video I played a royalty-free, apparently, I didn't read the description well enough, luckily it got posted without issues. This one, it says no copyright, so okay. So, I made this. I think it pretty well covers the currents. It's a little hard to see the colors. I think I messed up these colors, but I meant to have them be this color here and here, but I guess I messed it up in this region somehow and didn't notice or something. I don't know. Didn't care, maybe. So yeah, when it's just this, it looks kind of like maybe they're the same. Not really, though. This looks the same as that. Anyway, I thought this one was worth drawing current flows, so I posted this on Twitter. Here it is. Let me get out of here for a second. Okay, so we got these shallograms that I talked about in the last video, and the current flows I generally discussed, and then I drew them. So I didn't notice over here, like, there's a little indentation there that looks in line with this. So that's there. And then this one, I basically drew to this one. I don't know why I drew it there. I probably should have drawn it. It's kind of separating into this one and this one, where this one goes to the center. So this one goes to the center through the chakra. This one goes over along this boundary. This one goes along this boundary. This one goes into this along this boundary, which is here, not here. This one goes to that boundary though, and then deflects off of it to enter into this tooth structure that interacts with the current coming off of here and joins it. So I tried to put a stroke around the pen around the layer to combine the colors, but it doesn't look very good in terms of depicting the two colors well. I don't know. Maybe had I made the arrows thicker initially and then made them adjusted it here, it might have looked more appropriate. I don't know. But so this current goes across and goes to where this blue current basically goes to this one and to this one. It's kind of how I looked at it. Like this one, I drew this as the same color, although it's kind of going through different holes. Like they're going through down here from the nucleus. A current is like collapsing on it and then spraying out this way, I guess. Don't think it's going the other way. It's going out this way, and then some of it's going down and in along the actual boundary of the ammonite shell shape, but some of it is just continues across and flows over here in like a kind of like a I guess if I and there kind of like a hand, like fingers fanning out kind of way from a nucleus over here. So the blue one though goes to this boundary and this boundary generally and interacts there, as well as probably current going underneath here and out along this whole crevice that I didn't draw because I didn't know how to depict it very well. Maybe had I drawn some like in arrows, like looped to go down and then an arrow into there, and then in this one drawn it coming out, maybe might have helped, as well as maybe in this one too. But I'm not completely sure if that's even happening. I mean, it must be distributing some current, internal current out in a fan here to be doing this. That's my best guess for why it would be doing that, although maybe it's related to the structure. So then the current spills over here into here, goes down here where it interacts with this purple current that goes up and holds a boundary, as well as continues across here. So like goes up, holds the boundary, causes this eddy to form here around the chakra that goes behind underneath this. And then the blue one comes down into what I drew kind of green here and creates chamber, chamber, chamber with the two little like Hamza hand or something. Hamza, like that thing. Doesn't really have like 3 fingers here, but like that. Okay, so back at it. There seems to be one of those like coiling cross currents generally coming across here, maybe. At least something with like a bed to it that looks arced here. I'm not completely sure. I might just be envisioning that because it's not distinct elsewhere. It looks kind of like it's present there. That's about it though. Particularly here. But that might be related to the center of the ammonite. Okay. Things about this one, maybe over here, some etching in a little further than elsewhere, but not in the typical shapes. Probably because it's like happening atop the rock. Like a current coming in and swirling on the rock that's shaping it like this. And then within it, so this one within it has a ammonite that has this cross cutting thing, current cutting across it there. Little, looks like an ammonite, like 2 lobes and chakras. Another one for sure down there. Okay, now we're into the ones that I talked about a couple episodes ago. I talked about this one. Talked about that one. Talked about this. Talked about this. Talked about that. Talked about this. Talked about this. Talked about this. Talked about this. Talked about that. That. Oh damn, we're only at 8 minutes. I think I only have 2 left. Okay. They're pretty cool, so they might at least be a half hour at this rate. So we kind of see abnormal ammonite features here that are kind of odd. Like, not really easily explainable by fossilization. It doesn't really make any sense at all. This is very much just like teeth going across here. So there's these big old teeth, and then one of them is kind of like a lobe, and then another one is at least part of a lobe of it, like extending outward. That has like chakra here, and maybe an internal structure in that way, a bit etched out. And then above it is this thing ramping up. So at this, going this way is the teeth here, and then going up this way is teeth here. Definitely like a current going this way that divides and goes up that way and over this way. Some features like this doesn't really make sense for traditional ammonites. Like, it looks like this kind of continues over here in a abnormal way because it's at the base of the shallogram. It's involved interacting with these other systems like this one, creating, I guess it kind of has a boundary here, but it certainly looks like this boundary just continues up here. So this kind of has a boundary here. I would say it does have a boundary there. It's just it continues energetically up here where it interacts with this one, and then just creates this weird shape because it's two of them interacting over here. So it doesn't even go this way. It actually goes up and over, angled. Just weird. Nothing reasonable. Also, this has another of those star things, starfish looking things. That looks like a hand or like some kind of animal head. Something interesting. Really etched in over here. So this current that divides, that comes in this way, was pretty intense over here, just etching in. Another starfish. Notice this hole next to it. I've only seen this on one other shallogram recently. No hole next to it, so it's a different one. As well as that's not this one, so there's also this feature on here. So there's two starfish on this one, which make up two of the three I've ever seen on many shallograms, which is very interesting. This one has a lot of features. We see one of those pillars and not so much like straight line across kind of thing, looking more basic. We see these flat things looking like the pillars that go down the middle, these things, like one of those, but just related to this and going out this way some reason. Like a current flow here erupted energy out that way, maybe. That created actual structure of that some reason. I don't know why I would do that in a small setting within the stone on a small, like on the side of it. Typically it appears in my interpretation that these are generally down the middle because they're pole to pole. Here's that fracture again. That's another angle, I guess, from over here of this one. So it has this big old chunk that's got like etched around it, and then behind it the current that's, I guess, going this way and then going around this mass that's forming for whatever reason in the pressure, goes around it and then comes over here. So maybe because it goes this way, it goes down and runs into resistance and goes over along it here, while this one goes up, maybe like runs into resistance and bounces off. Something where, like, dependent on the path it went around that structure, it would divided the subsequent path it took, or encouraged at least in a way where it did divide. So we got that pillar thing, we've got some fractures here, straight line here, interestingly like near and kind of starting from a similar location as these teeth, almost like they're part of a single structure, but one side has teeth, the other doesn't, although it has teeth above it, different teeth that go past the bottom one, like, and then above that some more teeth and some more teeth and some different angled teeth that look kind of like they're pointing towards that and maybe towards that as well. Then maybe with some structure kind of between the paths for some reason. Then these teeth down here though, teeth there, structures. Another just straight edge etching with like a sort of branching off etching over here, but in this case it's straight edge etching. In this case it's like little pores. maybe like a more dense flow went into the rock itself and was able to go into it, but then it erupted and went in a different path where this one bent more. So this is probably going this way, and then there's a current going this way that's kind of holding this boundary, but maybe producing this thing and bending off here in a dividing kind of way where it actually, there's current within the stone itself under the layers that gets more propagated this way. Something of that nature, maybe. There's also two chakras there, two little lobes forming subtly. Something there that's kind of lobe-like with chakras. Subtly. Straight on of that thing, we can really see below it has those teeth, some teeth things. Some more of those pores. Let's go back to this. So down below it is there. Has this thing going up there towards, generally across there. Maybe across this way even. Maybe towards there. All of the above, kind of branching. Some relationship like that. Okay, so there's that. I'm not sure, we might get a face on that too. A little more. There might be another picture. So I guess enough. It's enough, H. It's enough. Never enough. It does look kind of ammonite-like there. Another ammonite-like feature along the teeth. Some chakras there. Something going on there. I guess that's the bottom. It also kind of has this going on here in this image. Like the roundedness, the layers. It's just not able to do it like this. More pixelated, more wobbly, more turbulent, but producing more like unique features that required those circumstances, where this was very balanced. So it stayed very cylindrical and layered without having teeth type things happening from turbulence. It was probably more stable, like the currents involved were just more stable and their boundaries were not so clashing. Here it's like clashing of boundaries that lead to clashing of currents that lead to boundaries that are turbulent, that etch in like wavy patterns or sometimes straight patterns. Okay, so I guess that's all I have to say about this one. Some little ammonite feature on that face there, right there. Possibly there as well. Possibly all the way in subtle features that are just, it just didn't form anywhere else, but here it was able to actually etch the beginning of the structure. So this, how did this happen in a fossil? It caved in, I guess. And then over here it also broke and like slid underneath and spaced itself with like some material. So it wasn't like too adjacent. And also broke here and like lifted here. So when it broke, it had material underneath it, so this didn't just like fall down into the void below. That's because the shell would have had a void for it to fall into. So it had this material in there, then it broke, and then it folded in this way, and also it's ridiculous. Current's low. There must have been like an overwhelming current, like we can even see the almost like an arrow pointing at it, pushing in this boundary. Because there's typically cross currents, like in this case. Like here, cross currents, like going across the shape and influencing that region. There's a lot of this kind of thing going on in this one. That's interesting. Looks to be the starts of extending this chakra up further over here, but it just wasn't able to, but it began to. And interestingly, it didn't do it over here, but it had space over here. It didn't really have space over here, although I'm not sure what that's about. That looks like it might be in the rock. This looks like part of the fabric, but interesting. Like there's some kind of ammonite type structures going on here. Maybe there. Maybe there. Lots of them. There's lots of cross-current evidence. I'm not sure what to make of it exactly. Looks like also here. So it must have been somewhere where the current was just caused to like go down well into the stone, but didn't really form chakras for some reason. That's interesting how this like feeds back to here, goes over that way, goes over here. Like there's actual connections between them. What do we got? I didn't talk about that one. Talked about that one. These are ones I was thinking of taking a picture or not. I didn't take a picture of this one yet, but I did think I should check it out. So let's check it out, because it's clearly got an ammonite on the back of the ammonite. So that's the front here, I guess, right here, looking at it at this angle. Or even like this angle, so we can't even see this at all, like there. You can see this spot going up to a little pole there, off to the back. It's incredible. Like it's coalesced. It's reminiscent of these seashells, how they over this one's material overlaps this one, connects them as one, but also it doesn't have the material. And then over here, this shell continues this way to be part of this shell. Which I talk about in an episode of maybe something Florida in it, or I don't remember. It's just the shape of this. So let's look at this. This one kind of, to me, suggests there's a current flow going up here. This is the top. There's a current flow going up here. Across this way. And I guess maybe also across this way. Maybe like this current and this current fed up here from the bottom, fed into this region where there's like a divide, possibly from some cross current, or possibly from current going this way and kind of running into each other and creating a divide, influencing it all to lead to that. Unclear, but in essence, in short, something goes on up here that causes the current, probably from this direction, to not just go into the chakra here and drain through and go back to the bottom, and instead it's caused to go over this way, and I guess go this way and around and create this like outer boundary, but then also go in here and swirl in and create the inner segment. Because this outer boundary kind of just fades over into this. And then kind of just wraps around to here. I guess it actually continues. So maybe it just went in here and wrapped around. Yeah, probably like that. Now that I see it at this angle. Kind of extended this way, creating this like fat bulge to it. So it's kind of like the current goes in here, goes around here, but pressure keeps it as part of the system, so it doesn't just like spawn a current off of it that creates a separate system, which I guess it could have done. And instead it just like molds to be part of it. Forms a boundary over here. But when it spirals in, it starts to run into resistance of current cutting into this region to go to the center. Which leads to like a cross current here. That's what I'm thinking. Like that when we tend to see some kind of point like this where there's a cross current, maybe it's something of this nature going on where there's a current that's like running into resistance and just wrapping around, and the current itself is being caused maybe because there's like a wall here that ends up forming. The current begins to be filtered and water becomes more prolific in the center region and etches out like a line right across here where it's really flowing through the material more and like removing it then and then making it smooth, but also having this like boundary for some reason. Let's see, probably because it goes across and runs into this resistance and just like bends almost like a 90-degree angle across here, which kind of prevents the mound here from pushing forward further, so that it is right there. Something of that nature, maybe. There's also a fracture going off this way. This thing's incredible. I know I say that a lot. It's got an ammonite shape here. Ammonite shapes there. Like top down there. Ammonite, ammonite, ammonite. Just a bunch of them littered in them. We can see divide here. That's real interesting. It even has like two lines adjacent to one another. Almost like one's related more to this system and one to this system. Comes down to here, which really is like this boundary. This thing kind of limited to that. And then within this wedge portion, there's another one here. And then over where this comes down are these ones. This also has some chambers beyond this. Chamber to this ammonite, maybe. Possibly a sort of ammonite spiral here as well. Along this, like, caused to eddy like this. Like it flows this way, runs into current that was going this way, and is caused to bend this way. But then it runs into pressure over here and is caused to bend this way, which it deflects around this and just kind of swirls in here and creates like a swirling structure there. More, another divide. Is really just this thing extending, I guess, layered, bent a bit, all sorts of stuff. A subtle one forming there, but not formed. Something going on there. Another side on ammonite-ish looking thing. Let's see, real quick. I'll just stop in a minute, see if anything catches my attention real quick that I haven't taken pictures of and referred to. What the... So it looks like this one has like a relationship this way over to this, and then this way over to this. So it's kind of like this one's next lobe is over here. And then at the end of that lobe is this ammonite. Which is almost pole to pole connected across this stone. Okay, so this one kind of goes to this boundary over here. Definitely a relationship here, definitely a relationship there. Like, why would that happen? There's no reason that a fossil would do that. It would have to cleanly break here. And probably have like a thread that participated in forming this, while within the stone it doesn't have the feature defined because there was no shell. It was just like an exterior current. Okay, so I'll be back. Thanks for hanging out, guys. See you next time.